many people have talked about when you first were assigned to the 100th Battalion and you're meeting with one of the officers giving you the choice to stay or not. And there's been different stories of things that have happened or anything. Do you want to clarify that story, or is there your version of
the way I remember it, and it was fairly clear in my mind, the unit was out in the field, so the battalion commander wasn't there when I arrived. And the first evening I spent primarily with Doc Komatani, and he didn't go out in the field. He was the unit dentist. And so we spent the evening talking. The next morning, a soldier came in, and I was assigned to a tent, and so I stayed there. Woke me up and told me that the battalion commander was coming in just to meet you. And so I got dressed and ready, and they told me about 8 o'clock. So at 8 o'clock, I was in the building and reported to, and that's the first time I met Lieutenant Colonel Barrett Turner. And I just entered, stopped in front of his desk, saluted, and said, Lieutenant Young Kim reporting for duty. It was that simple, because that's all you're required to do. He looked up at me and he says, you know, I don't think you realize that this is a Japanese unit, and of course you're Korean. He says, historically, you know, the Japanese and Koreans don't get along. He said, I'll have you transferred. And I said, sir, I said, they're Americans and I'm an American, and we're going to go fight for America. So I want to stay. He looked kind of startled. He said, well, you know, all the other officers who preceded you, who were not Japanese Americans, well, they didn't have the term Japanese Americans, so they said they were not Japanese, all wanted out. And so the process has been set up. I can have you transferred first thing in the morning. I said, no, sir, I want to stay. He said, well, he was startled and he stunned, I think, for a moment. And then all of a sudden he smiled. He said, well, you can stay, but you're going to be on probation. See how well you get along with the men. And with that, I saluted and turned around and left. And I was informed shortly after that, not right at that meeting, but shortly after that, that I was being assigned to B Company. And when I reported to B Company commander, who was Clarence Johnson, he assigned me to be the leader of the 2nd platoon of B Company.